Zhong Yuhuan took the opportunity when the others were talking to the manager to talk to Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan. Do you know how to play? Both boys shook their heads. Pool? They have only heard of it in the past. Zhong Yuhuan picked up their hands, scratched inside their palms, smiled, and comforted them. Don't worry, I will teach you. The workers had everything prepared in no time. Zhong Yuhuan had her fair share of these in her previous life. Pool, handheld gaming devices, outdoor activities, she had played all of them. Zhong Yuhuan picked up a pool cue before turning and looking at the two boys. Which one of you wants to try first? Li Jinyuan opened his mouth and was about to say something. Huo Chengming took a big step forward and drowned out Li Jinyuan. I will give it a try, said Huo Chengming. Okay. Zhong Yuhuan reached out her hand toward him. This time, Huo Chengming had no hesitation. He took her hand and walked toward the pool table. She grabbed the pool cue and lowered her body closer to the surface of the table as she continued to explain the rules and pointers to Huo Chengming while giving him a demonstration. Just like this, said Zhong Yuhuan as she turned and looked at Huo Chengming. Behind them, Li Jinyuan's eyes flickered a bit, and, almost immediately, he removed his jacket, took a step forward, and tied it around Zhong Yuhuan's waist. Zhong Yuhuan paused for a bit, then stood up and looked over at Li Jinyuan. Oh, thank you, Didi. Suddenly, Zhong Yuhuan realized why he did what he did. She still had the formal dress she wore specifically for attending the banquet. It was easy for the dress to rise up when she leaned over. Li Jinyuan pursed his lips and said softly, You can call me Gay too. Zhong Yuhuan shook her head. Nope. You are younger than me, even if it's just by a day. Li Jinyuan looked into her eyes and finally gave up the fight and took a step back. Huo Chengming suddenly looked at the jacket wrapped around her waist, and even he had a complicated slight change in his emotions. He said softly, Huan, give me the pool cue. I want to give it a try. When Huo Chengming said that, his face was tightened, obviously nervous. He had heard others called her Huan, but had never referred to her that way himself. This was the very first time he had shown any signs of closeness to her. Zhong Yuhuan paused for a second, followed by a bright smile. Okay. She handed over the pool cue to Huo Chengming. Huo Chengming leaned over and, mimicking how she was before, held the pool cue in his hand and hit the ball. The ball spun out to the side of the table and circled the table. Zhong Yuhuan gave him an applause from the side and said, That's really good, Gege. A little more practice and you will be able to hit the balls into the pockets. Suddenly, Li Jinyuan spoke up from behind. Teach me too, Gigi. He too had rarely referred to her as Gigi, partly because he had rarely asked of anything from her and partly because he was worried that she wouldn't respond. Okay, just 1 minute. Zhong Yuhuan had the manager brought over another cue stick and took Li Jinyuan over to another pool table. Come over here. Okay, replied Li Jinyuan. His body slowly started to relax, and he walked over to Zhong Yuhuan with brisk steps. All of the others were interested in watching Zhong Yuhuan play pool, so nobody said anything but stared at the table. On this side, Huo Chengming put down his pool cue and started intently at Li Jinyuan. When he saw that Zhong Yuhuan had taught Li Jinyuan the same technique that she had taught him, Huo Chengming finally picked back up the pool cue, leaned back down, and hit another ball. A few banging noises later, finally, a ball fell into a pocket in a fierce manner. Huo Chengming stood up, looked over at Zhong Yuhuan, and said softly, Huan, I hit one into the pocket. By now, Huo Chengming realized that all he needed to do was to run her name on his tongue for a couple of times, and it was much easier to say it out loudly. Huan. After a few more times, it was almost addicting. He felt an itch in his throat. When Zhong Yuhuan heard Huo Chengming's voice, she handed the pool cue over to Li Jinyuan and looked up at Huo Chengming. Is Gigi really that good? Huo Chengming said softly. Why don't you come see for yourself? All right. Zhong Yuhuan walked over to him without giving it a second thought. Li Jinyuan lowered his head and started trying to hit the ball silently. All the others looked over at Huo Chengming, baffled. Then they turned to look over at Li Jinyuan, also baffled. It would seem that something was off. Zhong Yuhuan, on the other hand, seemed quite happy. Once they have learned how to play pool, and after both the male lead and the villain boss had grown up and they'd be wearing suits, with their wide shoulders, narrow waist, and long legs, and when they rolled up their sleeves, grabbed a pool cue and started playing, that must be quite an attractive scene. Zhong Yuhuan smacked her lips. She had finally experienced a shred of accomplishment from raising kids. The entire pool table area had turned into Zhong Yuhuan's classroom. It would take any normal person a whole day to pick up pool, but Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan were able to pick it up in barely a couple of hours. Even the 3 young masters standing nearby and watching them for fun picked it up as well. After being so super focused, everybody was tired in no time. Someone couldn't help but ask, Zhong Yuhuan, is there anything that you can't do? Lots. I don't know how to play basketball or soccer or skiing or swimming or rowing. Zhong Yuhuan listed out a bunch of them. Let's go skiing in New Zealand over New Year. Don't go with him. Zhong Yuhuan, go with me to Egypt over New Year. We will go. Dig out a pharaoh. Are you crazy? Dig out a pharaoh? We should go check out the neon lights in the red light district. It did not take long before they digressed completely from the original topic. Sitting in the middle, Zhong Yuhuan had turned into the center of the discussion. Zhong Yuhuan worried that Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan wouldn't be able to join in the bye conversation, so she announced, all right, it's getting late. We need to head home. Everybody else just looked at her dumbfounded. Why do you want to go home? We are not done here yet. Didn't you say you were going to teach us how to play that new mobile handheld game? Zhong Yuhuan shook her head. Nah, I got homework to do? The others paused for a second and then laughed out loud. You are kidding, right? Going home to do homework? Zhong Yuhuan nodded and replied solemnly, I am still young after all. What if Shu Yunhui tries some dirty tricks and tried to frame me later on? Ugh, what does that have to do with doing homework? One must study hard in order to become a successful person in life. You need to study to become successful, or else what? Just sit around and do nothing all day long except to wait for pocket money from your family? What happens when you have a stepmother one day like I do now? Then what? Everybody seemed to be enlightened. That kind of makes sense. But doing homework is so tiring. We can directly go study overseas. Once we came back from overseas, we can join our family's business right away. The group of second-generation rich kids already had their lives planned. All being said, they were just plans after all. Zhong Yuhuan stared around the group and said, You can't be that naive if you don't know anything yourself. Even if you joined the company, you won't be able to control your subordinates. All your projects will be losing propositions. What is the point then? You hire managers. Are you an idiot? If you are ignorant, you wouldn't even know when your managers were just jerking you around. Zhong Yuhuan, you are so smart. That kind of makes sense, but I still don't know how to do my homework. I have never done them before. Zhong Yuhuan, what say we do them together at your place? Everybody looked at her eagerly. It was human nature to want to be closer to everything pretty and nice. Right now, Zhong Yuhuan was pretty and full of vigor. Everybody wanted to be close to her. Yet Zhong Yuhuan turned them down cruelly. No can do. When she was home, she wanted it to be just her, the male lead, and the boss villain. Ugh, that sounded odd when it was put that way. Zhong Yuhuan stood up, grabbed Huo Chengming with her left hand and Li Jinyuan with her right and said, Come on, let's go. Home we go. Huo Chengming flipped his hand and held her hand in his before he replied softly, That little exchange did not escape Li Jinyuan's eyes. His eyes flickered and, smiling at Zhong Yuhuan, also flipped his hand and held her hand in his. All of a sudden it went from Zhang Yuhuan holding the hands of the two boys to her hands being held by the two boys. The rest of the group could only look at their backs as they walked away. When they arrived back at the mansion, Zhongqi and the lot were not back yet. Xu Yunhui's son's name was Xu Xing. He was currently a freshman in high school. Before Xu Yunhui married Zhongqi, he applied and got into Dongling's 13th high school. This was a very strict school that was run in a draconian style. So, most of the time, Xu Xing stayed over at the school instead of at the mansion. Naturally, he wouldn't be seen around the mansion. Zhang Yuhuan quickly ascended the stairs with the two boys. Li Jinyuan's jacket was still wrapped around Zhang Yuhuan's waist, and she just sit down on top of it. Zhang Yuhuan grabbed her backpack over and started pulling out her textbooks. The two boys looked at her dumbfounded. "What are you looking at me for? Do your homework." That was when the two realized that when she said was going to do her homework, she really was going to do her homework. Zhang Yuhuan had pondered over her future long and hard the first day she arrived into this world. It was unlikely that Zhongqi was going to change his ways one day. Grandpa Ding was up there in age, and it was impractical for her to seek help from Lang Jinji, her cousin, indefinitely. Once she thought about it that way, she practically had nobody who would stay by her side. So, naturally, she would need to plan ahead. Zhang Yuhuan turned and told him, "You both are freshmen in junior high school right now and still behind on your schoolwork, especially in the English area. But I will be attending senior high school aboard. Senior high school and university were important stages. She wouldn't choose to mess around and waste her life away. Staying long-term at the Zhangs would obviously be a bad choice, so she might as well bamboozle another lump sum of money from Zhongqi and go overseas to pursue her education. Xu Xing might still be in school when she returned. As for Xu Yushan, she was destined to be an airhead forever. Nothing would change about her in a few years. By then, Zhongqi would be even older than he is now, and she just might have a shot to take over the Zhang's business. Zhang Yuhuan had it all planned out, but she didn't hear any responses from either Huo Chengming or Li Jinyuan. Finally, she put down the pencil in her hand and looked up at them. The two boys' eyes were reddened. Their fists tightened into balls like they were suppressing certain emotions. "What's the matter, if you are going overseas?" "What about us?" asked Li Jinyuan, his voice filled with sadness. "You will come with me, of course." The two boys relaxed immediately. Almost simultaneously, they looked up at Zhang Yuhuan. "Really? Together?" asked Li Jinyuan. Nodded Zhang Yuhuan. "I have said it before. It will just be the three of us going forward." They both looked meaningfully at Zhang Yuhuan and said softly, "Yes, it will just be the three of us going forward." Just be the three of us should have sounded very sad, but at this moment in time, it took on a different level of meaning. When the words left their mouths, they all felt a sense of peacefulness and warmth, and also a hint of sweetness. "When are we leaving?" asked Huo Chengming. "We've got to wait for you." "When you reached junior year. Unless, of course, you can complete the coursework sooner, then we can take off sooner," said Zhang Yuhuan as she casually spun the pencil in her hand. Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan quietly memorized her words. If they can complete the coursework sooner. To the two of them, overseas was an unfamiliar word. But they suddenly started looking forward to the days of going overseas. Once they left the country, then it would just be the three of them, right? "Come on, let's start on the homework," said Zhang Yuhuan. "Okay," said Huo Chengming immediately. Li Jinyuan was a step behind him, but he still responded with a, "Okay." That night, Zhongqi and the lot returned home. Zhang Yuhuan walked down the stairs with her hand on the banister. Xu Yushan looked up at her and almost couldn't contain the jealousy in her eyes. Zhang Yuhuan paid her no attention, looked directly at Zhongqi and said, "Dad, there's something I want to talk to you about. Go ahead." Zhongqi, on the other hand, was in a cheerful mood, and this was the best time to bring up any requests. Jung Yu-hwan took a few small steps and walked up to him as she said, "I want to go study abroad." "Oh, so that's what you want to talk about. When do you want to leave?" That was no surprise to Jung-chi. In their circle, it was quite normal for kids to study abroad. It was the natural course of things. On the other side, Shu Yun-hui and Shu Yushan were both delighted by this news. But before they got too happy, Zhang Yuhuan continued, "I can't leave right now. I need to wait for Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan to work on their English and catch up on their schoolwork so they can come with. They are going to need more and better tutors. The ones we had before were all hired by cousin, but I don't think it's right to keep troubling him. Wouldn't you agree? After all, Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan are already part of our family." Naturally, Zhongqi didn't want the kids from the welfare agency around the house, so he would much prefer if they go overseas with her. He asked point blank, "Well, what is on your mind?" Zhang Yuhuan reached out her hand and said, "Sponsor me with a lump sum of money so I can hire better tutors for them." Shu Yushan almost dropped dead of shock. Was she seriously asking for money again? And what would enrage her even more followed. Chakai. She nodded without hesitation. "Okay, we shouldn't keep on troubling Lang Jinji." As Zhangqi wasn't a big fan of the Dings, naturally the less Zhang Yuhuan has to rely on Lang Jinji the better. If words ever got out, it'd reflect poorly on him. People would think that he couldn't even take care of his daughter, and that was why she needed to bother Lang Jinji on each and every single thing. And that was how Zhang Yuhuan got another large lump sum of money. She went up the stairs joyously. "Awesome! The male lead and the boss villain have another lump sum for their education fund. Maybe she should spend some money on piano lessons for them also." Well-dressed men with their sleeves slightly rolled up and slender fingers running across the keyboard could be quite attractive too. Influenced by Zhang Yuhuan, the second-generation rich kids who had been surrounding her also started planning for their future. They didn't want to be a fool in the future, so with their teeth gritted, they tried to study harder. When their families noticed their changes, they assumed it was just a fad, and nobody thought much of it. Everybody was around 13 to 14-year-old, and during their rebellious phases. The more their families thought nothing of it, the harder they worked. They must work hard to keep this up. Whenever they were about to give up, they just looked at Zhang Yuhuan, and their passion would be renewed. Look at Zhang Yuhuan. Her grandfather was once a renowned character of High City, and now her father was a new and coming figure in High City. Her cousin was no small character either. And she was pretty. But she didn't want to rely on her looks. She wanted to rely on her ability. Who wouldn't want to learn from her after seeing an example? Like her? Everybody agreed with Zhang Yuhuan's speech at the club the other day. And the more they agree with her, the closer they want to be to her. Even though Zhang Yuhuan was young, everybody had omitted her childish look and only saw how sprightly and stunning she looked every time she talked. It almost seemed like they wanted her to become the leader of their little group. After that day, when Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan beat up young Master Nan, no further words were heard about the incident. Truth be told, even if he had said anything, with all the second-generation young kids muddling with the matters, nothing would come out of it. Soon, it was Monday again, and Zhang Yuhuan and the boys continued to go to and from school. Chihuai. Chengming and Li Jinyuan have been spending more and more time on the basketball court. It was only that they had started to figure out the amount of time it would take Zhang Yuhuan to walk to the basketball court from her classroom after her class was out. So every time they'd take off early from the basketball court and walked over to the bottom of her building to wait for her, just like they did today. They quickly wiped away the sweat on their faces and necks. With their uniform jackets in their hands, they jogged to the bottom of the building. The two figures attracted a lot of attention immediately. Someone leaned over the railings and looked down on them and said, "Zhang Yuhuan's brothers are here again? They are quite attractive." "Yeah, I saw them playing basketball yesterday too." I even saw that freshman Tong Ming brought them water. Wow, for reals? Tong Ming had already acted upon it? Well, did they accept the water? Ha ha. No, of course not. Does Tong Meng even remotely come close to Zhong Yuhuan? If I have a sister like her, I'd think all others are ugly too. The person talking upstairs did not bother to lower his voice. Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan could hear every word clearly downstairs. Yet they continued to just stand there as if nothing had happened, and there was nothing wrong or embarrassing about it. Neither one of them moved, until Zhong Yuhuan finally came out of the building. The two moved forward right away, almost as though they were in some sort of a competition, and ran up to Zhong Yuhuan. Huan, said Huo Chengming. Li Jinyuan looked down, and with an innocent look, he also said, Huan. It was obvious that he wasn't going to see her as an older sister at all. Zhong Yuhuan's cheeks puffed up and said, Li Jinyuan, you think you can start treating me as though I am a younger sister of yours just because you have gained some more height lately? Li Jinyuan looked up and smiled at her gently. The little bit of childishness that was between his brows were all gone. That had become Li Jinyuan's go-to trick. Every time he couldn't find the right words, he'd smile. At Zhong Yuhuan, from a mild smile to a tender smile, with a sprinkle of shyness and innocence. He was able to play off just about any situation. Zhong Yuhuan didn't pick on Li Jinyuan any further, but said softly, Come on, let's go get some food. I am famished. Li Jinyuan replied with an, Okay, and reached out to take the bunny backpack from Zhong Yuhuan. Huo Chengming reached out at the same time. Each of them got one bunny ear in their hands, and the backpack remained motionless. Zhong Yuhuan couldn't help but turn around and ask, What are you two doing? Nothing. Huo Chengming let go of it first and said, Li Jinyuan wanted to carry your bag. For you. Zhong Yuhuan twisted her shoulder and removed her backpack from her back and handed it over to Li Jinyuan. All right, here you go. Li Jinyuan grabbed the bunny backpack in his hand, took a look, and slowly put it on his own back. He had on a black and blue-colored school uniform and looked like some wealthy young master with his long legs and a slender waist. But now he also had an oddly contrasting bunny backpack on his back. Zhong Yuhuan couldn't help but chuckle. That looks good. Very good. Okay, you can carry it. Li Jinyuan showed no signs of being shy or embarrassed. He merely nodded and said, Okay. That wasn't what Zhong Yuhuan had expected. Wasn't the male lead supposed to be shy? When she first took him out of the social agency, he was too shy to even hold her hands. Perhaps it was because Zhong Yuhuan had spent a little too much time looking at Li Jinyuan. His face gradually turned red. Ah, that was the shy male lead that she remembered. Zhong Yuhuan looked away. With one hand around Huo Chengming's arm and the other one grabbing Li Jinyuan, she said, Let's go. Due to the supplemental nourishment and the crazy workout every day, Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan gained height in an astonishing rate. When they walked next to Zhong Yuhuan now, they looked like two knights on each side of her. On the other hand, young Master Nan's family had arranged for several rounds of matchmaking for him, but when one had seen the best, how could he appreciate anything else? Young Master Nan frowned and sat on the couch with his legs crossed and said in a low voice, Don't I already have a fiancé? What is the point of all these matchmaking arrangements? What a waste of time, Mrs. Nan said through gritted teeth. Oh, just why do you think that is? We are doing all these for you. When you cannot make me not worry anymore, then we will stop arranging matchmaking for you. As the saying goes, start a family then work on your career. You have a family first before you focus on your career. I am just hoping that you'd have a normal romantic relationship, then have a kid and be more mature. Have a kid? With whom? Said young Master Nan impatiently. I like my fiancé. Mr. Nan gave him a swift kick and said, What nonsense are you talking about? Haven't you done enough crazy things overseas? How old do you think Zhong Yuhuan is? How much older than her are you? And you still think you have a shot at it? Are you kidding me? Young Master Nan tried to retreat backward and said in a low voice, "Didn't you arrange this marriage for me when I was a kid?" "So now you realize the age difference?" Mr. Nan coldly said. "That was when we thought you'd launch your career after college, and will be ready to get married when you have a certain level of accomplishment in your career before getting married. Now, look at you, messing around with someone when you were still in junior high school." Young Master Nan rolled his eyes. "I thought you were waiting for me to clean up." "I am now. I don't want anyone else anymore." Mr. Nan pursed his lips. "That works, too. You go back to school tomorrow and go finish up your degree in financial management. Then go to work in our company for a few years. When you figured out the odds and ends of the operations of our company, that should be about the right time." The day that young Master Nan was beaten had sowed the seed of his vindictive plans. His plan was to marry Zhang Yu Huan, then he'd be able to kick out her two brothers. After he got home, young Master Nan watched 2 romance movies. Both of them talked about how great love was, the difficulties and the bitterness involved, etc., etc. They made young Master Nan feel that he had found his true love, so he was very agreeable. "Sure, I will even wait 10 years if that's what it will take." Having said that, he felt extremely proud of himself, sacrificing so much for true love. Suddenly, he bounced up from the couch and started dashing upstairs. Mr. Nan shouted at him, "And just where do you think you are going?" "To look for my textbooks. Didn't you say you want me to go back to school?" Mrs. Nan was still trying to recollect her thoughts from what just transpired. She muttered, "In that case, are we still going to meet with Zhangqi's older daughter?" Young Master Nan asked dubiously. "Uncle Zhang has an older daughter." "Yes, the one that Xu Yunhui brought with her," said Mr. Nan coldly. "Her name is Xu Yushan," added Mrs. Nan, young Master Nan. "Oh, that doesn't concern me. No, I don't want to meet her." Mrs. Nan's face turned colors. "But we have already made the arrangements." Young Master Nan dashed into his own room while thinking that he should probably also pick up taekwondo. Otherwise, he was no match to those 2 bastards. How was he supposed to take Zhang Yuhuan from the 2 of them? Zhu Yushan had been waiting for days at the mansion for words from the Nans. She had no respect for that young Master Nan. He was so immature for his age. Yet, on the other hand, she eyed the wealth of the Nans. She knew that if she could become young Master Nan's wife, she'd instantly get the title of Young Mistress Nan. She'd never run out of money again, and nobody would bring up her illegitimate status again. These thoughts made her look forward to the call. It was only that she had waited and waited, and there was still no news from the other end. Xu Yushan was very worried that this opportunity would pass her by. She knew that the only reason she had a shot at this was because Mrs. Nan wanted to find her son an older and more mature woman to be his wife, in the hope that she'd help him stay on the right path. If she missed this opportunity, she might never find another family as attractive as the Nans. As she got anxious about it, no matter how hard she tried to hide it, one could still tell from her look. Zhangqi scanned her face, frowned, and said, "Stop that. You must act more like an upper-class young woman." Xu Yunhui immediately put her hand on Xu Yushan. Xu Yushan pouted, feeling like a bucket of cold water had just been poured over her. Tian, equivalent to English saying, "Rain on my parade," meaning, someone squelching your enthusiasm in something. Before she came to the Zhongs, Xu Yushan had always looked up to her father. Now that she had entered the Zhongs, she slowly realized that her status in her father's eyes might not necessarily be higher than that of Zhang Yuhuan's. Her father was slowly becoming more and more strict with her. Suddenly, Xu Yunhui's cell phone rang. Xu Yunhui mouthed the words, "The Nans." Zhangqi didn't show anything from his look. He picked the newspaper back up and continued with his reading. As for Xu Yushan, her heart practically leapt into her throat, and gradually a smile spread across her face. Xu Yunhui quickly picked up the phone. She was used to putting up a front, so regardless of the outcome, it was rare to see any signs of negative emotions on her. Xu Yushan wasn't able to glean anything useful from her mother's look, and that made her even more anxious. She lifted her hand and brushed the necklace she had on. She had spent quite a bit of time to dress herself up today. Finally, Xu Yunhui hung up the phone. "Mom," said Xu Yushan immediately. Yet, the words coming out of Xu Yunhui's mouth was, "The Nan said to put the meeting off for a while." Xu Yushan paused for a second and asked, "What does she meant by putting it off? I thought Mrs. Nan likes me." Suddenly, she recalled how young Master Nan chased after Zhang Yuhuan. He'd rather chased after a little brat instead of her. Xu Yushan gritted her teeth and inadvertently bit herself on her tongue. The pain caused her to let out a cry. Xu Yushan waited for Zhangqi to leave before daring to speak. Zhang Yuhuan was the one who sabotaged it. Xu Yunhui said calmly, "She wouldn't know how to do this in the past. Someone must be giving her pointers." "Oh, who could that be?" "Eh? Didn't she get close to her maternal grandfather all of a sudden recently? Do you think it could be her grandfather? Or Lang Jinji?" Speaking of Lang Jinji, there was a subtle change to Xu Yushan's look. She said, "Now that young Master Nan was a no-go, what about Lang Jinji?" Xu Yunhui was much calmer and analytical. She gave Xu Yushan a cold look and said, "That's the grandchild of the Dings, Zhang Yuhuan's cousin, the only child of the Langs. Never mind our conflicts with the Dings. Lang Jinji is way out of your league." Xu Yushan was a little hurt from that comment and couldn't help but say, "Then who'd be good enough for him?" "Zhang Yuhuan?" "Helpless," Xu Yunhui said. "Unfortunately, that is the truth. When she was born, her mother was a daughter of the Dings, her father, an up-and-rising businessman, then even her cousin became a prominent figure. Even after your father made it official with me, and I became the new Mrs. Zhang, you are still not the same as her. She might not have a mother, but she will still be the object of affection by many children of prominent families or government officials." Xu Yushan lowered her head and remained silent. Her mother could put up with all of it, and for a good 10-20 years no less, but she wouldn't be able to do the same. Her mother had finally become Mrs. Zhang, but what about her? She didn't want to spend her entire living under the shadow of a little brat. Seeing that Xu Yushan was quiet, Xu Yunhui thought her daughter was finally listening to her. She patted her on her shoulder and said, "Take it easy." Having said that, Xu Yunhui was the first to walk away. Zhang Yuhuan had no intention to understand Xu Yushan's bitterness and pain. She said she'd get the two boys into classes, so she immediately put in the applications for them. She then asked the two of them what they'd like to learn. Huo Chengming, free combat. Li Jinyuan, fencing. Zhang Yuhuan couldn't help but ask, "None of you have interest in piano? Or violin?" Li Jinyuan asked softly, "Is that what you like?" Zhang Yuhuan had obvious interested look on her face. She nodded and said, "Yes, I do." Li Jinyuan, "What else do you like?" Zhang Yuhuan didn't feel that anything was wrong. She bent her fingers one by one and listed out swimming, painting, horseback riding, skiing. Cello is nice too. Let me see what else. Huo Chengming didn't say a word, but he committed it all to memory. Li Jinyuan spoke. "I like all of those too. Can I learn them all?" Huo Chengming. He turned and gave Li Jinyuan a stare. A vicious look appeared in his eyes. Yet, Li Jinyuan acted as thought he hadn't noticed that at all. He even smiled at Zhang Yuhuan, his smile soft and tender. "Yes, but you won't be able to learn all of them at the same time. You can do it slowly. Why don't we make a schedule?" said Zhang Yuhuan as she pulled out a piece of paper. Li Jinyuan smiled and said, "Okay." Right when he was about to move to behind Zhang Yuhuan and watch her draft up the plan, Huo Chengming beat him to it and took the better spot behind her. Huo Chengming bent down a little bit and took the pen from Zhang Yuhuan all so naturally and said, "Huan Huan, you just talk, I will do the writing. Okay. Then you can write, said Zhang Yuhuan as she casually let go of the pen. A hint of regret flashed past Li Jinyuan's eyes. Zhang Yuhuan was completely oblivious to all the exchanges between the two boys. Her head cocked, her cheek resting in her palm, slowly she started. Then why don't you two start with fencing and free combat? I will take them with you. When Chengming Gege takes his free combat class, Jinyuan will go to his tutoring section. When Chengming Jige goes to his tutoring section, Jinyuan can go to his fencing class. Zhang Yuhuan thought about it for a while and thought to herself, I am such a genius. That way I would be able to attend all classes with them. Other than the tutoring sections, of course. Okay. The two boys agreed with her plans. Zhang Yuhuan didn't care about the cost. She got all her money from Zhongqi anyway. Happily, she finished the applications for the two boys. Soon it was time to go back to school. After they had signed up for more classes, their schedule daily had become even more packed. Every time the two young men went to class, Zhang Yuhuan would tag along. The boys were serious in their learning while Zhang Yuhuan was more casual. She mainly just wanted to experience different things. She never intended to become very skillful in any of them. As the amount of exercise increased, the two young men had yet another growth spurt. They quickly surpassed Zhang Yuhuan in height. Now, when they were in their workout gear, they already looked more like tall and lanky older boys. As Zhang Yuhuan was obsessed with raising the male lead and the villain, she had almost forgotten all about the rest of the Zhang's members. She had much less fights with Zhongqi, which made Zhongqi much happier. He was pleased that she had finally matured some and gave her another raise in her spending money. All in all, he was just happy she had stopped making scenes at his company. Inside the fencing hall, a group of second-generation wealthy kids surrounded Zhang Yuhuan. They were all sitting around the outer perimeter of the hall. As there were quite a few of them, they looked more like they were there to cause trouble. They were all standing around Zhang Yuhuan, chattering, Hey, look at that. Li Jinyuan was quite good at this. Yeah. I was wondering why we haven't been seeing you guys lately. I want to learn this too. Looks so cool. Li Jinyuan was standing there in his all-white fencing gear, his body that had been gaining a lot of height recently, and with the fencing sword in his hand, most of his usual tenderness was gone and was replaced with ferocity. Zhang Yuhuan found that attractive as well. So she turned and smiled at her group of second-generation rich children and said, Yes, you should sign up for this too. Everybody was wealthy, and now that they had the idea in their heads, they immediately went and paid for their classes. Zhang Yuhuan sat on the sideline and watched Li Jinyuan defeated his opponent. It was less than 1 minute before Li Jinyuan won the round. He bowed at his opponent and walked over to Zhang Yuhuan, sword in hand. He took his mask off as he walked over, and his hair, now wet from his sweat, was exposed for everyone to see. Li Jinyuan walked over to Zhang Yuhuan. Suddenly, bending over, toward her he grabbed his own hair and said softly, My hair is getting long again. As he was dripping in sweat, Li Jinyuan appeared to be even more attractive than usual. Even his features seemed to be more defined at this moment. Zhang Yuhuan looked at him and nodded. Okay. We will stop by the barber shop and get you a haircut on our way home tonight. I want Huan to cut them. Zhang Yuhuan rubbed 2 fingers together and finally shook her head. Nah, when I cut them, it looked like your hair was chewed up by a dog. Suddenly, Li Jinyuan smiled and his eyes lit up. Even when they were chewed up by a dog, it looked good. Right then, one of the second generation, rich kids just happened to return, heard their conversation and chimed in. My mom took me to a fancy salon once, and I didn't think it was all that. Tony there was so bad. My haircut looked worse than if my hair was chewed up by a dog. Li Jinyuan gave the second-generation rich kid a look before he turned back to look at Zhang Yuhuan and said softly, Exactly. Zhang Yuhuan lifted up her fingers. gauged his bangs a little bit and said, The other option can also be tying up your bangs. Li Jinyuan pushed his now wet head closer to Zhang Yuhuan and said, Then, Huan, tie them up for me. As they were chit-chatting, others returned gradually. Okay, we are all registered. Zhang Yuhuan, let's come here together tomorrow. Yeah, together. Suddenly, their conversation registered with Li Jinyuan, and he turned and looked at the others while asking, What did you all do earlier? To register for the class. Same one as you. If I can pick this up, I'll look cool too. Li Jinyuan found it difficult to maintain the smile on him. His eyes dimmed down immediately. So, he was no longer unique? If everybody else learned this too, then how could he use this to gain Huan's fondness? Does that mean he'd lose his advantage with her and would no longer be able to attract Zhang Yuhuan's attention? Li Jinyuan stood back up and put his mask back on. Smiling at Zhang Yuhuan, he said, Huan, I am going to practice some more. Okay, nodded Zhang Yuhuan. The others around her couldn't help but tug her on her sleeve and ask in a lowly voice, Zhang Yuhuan, how come your brothers always seem so excitable? Aren't you tired around them? Zhang Yuhuan felt odd about that too, but quickly she found a reasonable explanation. Thinking about it for a while, she said, Perhaps they appreciate it more as the opportunities didn't come to them easily. Everybody else was enlightened. Oh, I see. Li Jinyuan went on to practice for 2 more hours. When he returned to the sideline of the gym and took off his mask again, his entire face was wet from sweat. Even his hair was dripping sweat. He smiled, and with a tender and innocent look, he said, Free combat is quite cool too. You want to go check out Huo Chengming also? Free combat is cool? Someone voiced their doubts. Li Jinyuan said confidently, Of course, very cool. That belt on your waist makes your legs look longer. And, once you've picked it up, you can send someone flying with just one kick. At that age, everybody was always looking for anything exciting to do. Li Jinyuan's words had definitely ignited everyone's interest in free combat. Huo Chengming is taking classes in free combat? What time is his class? Why don't you take us to have a look, Zhang Yuhuan? I guess free combat might be fun too. Zhang Yuhuan turned and looked at Li Jinyuan. Li Jinyuan lifted his hand to wipe away some of his sweat and gave Zhang Yuhuan a most sunny of all smiles. The lights from the gym casting on him and his sweat seemed to be glistening, making his entire person look like he was sparkling. Li Jinyuan actually said Huo Chengming was cool taking classes in free combat. Great. Does that mean they are finally becoming friendly with each other? Excellent. It looked like perhaps the male lead and the villain might actually become amicable with each other instead of following the script in the original book. Then perhaps she also wouldn't have to follow the script in the original book and face her own tragic death. Zhang Yuhuan nodded happily. Okay, we will go check out Huo Chengming tomorrow. Huo Chengming, sitting far away in his tutor section, suddenly sneezed. The girl sitting next to him immediately handed him a pack of tissues. Huo Chengming took a look at it but didn't take it from her. Young Master Nan said he was going to go back to school, and he truly did. But he didn't even make it to a month before he gave up. Sacrificing for love was so damn hard. That was what young Master Nan thought to himself. He decisively gave up on his earlier determination, packed up all his stuff, and snuck out of school. He knew where Zhang Yuhuan attended school. Almost the entire high city's upper-class kids went there. He drove over to Murphy High School and stood outside of the school. Many of the students recognized him. Young Master Nan grabbed one of them and asked, Is Zhang Yuhuan still in class? Recently, Zhang Yuhuan was quite well known in her school as well. First of all, everybody had already heard of what happened at the Zhangs. Secondly, when Zhang Yuhuan returned to school, a group of students that weren't that close to her now followed her around all over the place. That had made her stand out more in school. When they heard young Master Nan looking for Zhang Yuhuan, they immediately told him she went over to Lanyue Plaza. I think she went to the third floor. Yeah, I think it is a shop called Dongfeng Society on the third floor. Everybody offered their insight, but they were finally able to provide him with an address. Dongfeng Society. What an odd name, thought young Master Nan to himself. He then turned around and got back into his car and have the driver took him over to Lanyue Plaza. The plaza wasn't too far from the school, so young Master Nan arrived quite quickly. He got out of the car and quickly went upstairs. Third floor. He checked each shop as he walked and finally arrived at Dongfeng Society. Standing outside the shop, young Master Nan felt a chill down his back. He could see the big poster on a rack outside the shop. On the poster it said, "Offering discount to new students. We offer boxing, free combat, taekwondo, etc." But he went inside anyway. There weren't a lot of people inside. He immediately walked past a few empty rooms. The girl from the registration desk followed him and asked him in a low voice, "Hi, would you like me to walk you through the programs that we offer?" Young Master Nan pushed her aside impatiently and finally stopped in front of the entrance of a large classroom. The door to the classroom was wide open, and there were quite a few individuals standing or sitting inside. Young Master Nan looked around. Eh? Weren't those the same kids that were surrounding Zhang Yuhuan at the Nan's banquet last time? Right then, a side door to the classroom opened up, and a girl in the white uniform with her hair pulled back into a pony entered slowly. She lifted her head slightly. With her bright smile, she looked beautiful and imposing. That's how a girl from a prominent family should look, thought young Master Nan to himself. Quickly, Zhang Yuhuan walked onto the platform. This was when young Master Nan noticed another boy on the other side of the platform. He had grown even taller than the last time he saw him. With a headband across his forehead, he seemed even more like a tower. When he turned around, one could see that he was covered in sweat. The sweat made his features seem more prominent, but also made him look more vicious. It was the little fart, Huo Chengming. Young Master Nan gritted his teeth. The trainer announced, "Okay, start!" Zhang Yuhuan immediately charged at Huo Chengming. That's when young Master Nan realized what was going on. The two of them are dueling. Zhang Yuhuan had been taking classes with Huo Chengming and been coming to this Dongfeng Society for a while now, and had picked up a thing or two, and she has been itching to give her skills a try. She had originally picked another second-generation rich kid to practice with, but for some reason that was overruled by Huo Chengming. Zhang Yuhuan figured that it didn't really make any difference who she was dueling with, so she ended up dueling with Huo Chengming. She hadn't noticed at all the presence of young Master Nan. All her attention was focused on Huo Chengming. She swung a punch from the left, then immediately one from the right, a step forward and a sweep with her foot. But Huo Chengming was good at this. Zhang Yuhuan was never able to hit him, and quite the contrary, she was making herself out of breath. "Forgot it. This isn't fun," said Zhang Yuhuan as she just stood still. A second-generation rich kid immediately ran up and handed her some water. "Wait," said Huo Chengming. Zhang Yuhuan didn't take the water, but turned to look at him first. Huo Chengming took a quick step forward and retied her belt for her with his head lowered. He noticed that her belt had came loose when she lifted her foot to kick him earlier, and he could almost caught a glimpse of the white tank top she had underneath. After he was done tying the belt, Huo Chengming stood up straight and said to her, "Okay, now hit me." Zhang Yuhuan blinked. Feeling a bit dubious, she lifted her hand, balled up a fist, and swung at his shoulder. Huo Chengming just stood there and let her fist hit him on his shoulder. "Okay, you win," he said. Zhang Yuhuan couldn't help but burst out laughing and said, "Do you think I am a child?" Huo Chengming said, "To make Huan Huan happy." Zhang Yuhuan couldn't help but giggle some more. Were the male lead and the villain blessed with special talents from the original writer? Each one of them was doing better than the last at pampering girls. At their young age, Zhang Yuhuan relaxed her fist and said to Huo Chengming, "Chengming Gege, you are still too skinny. Your bony shoulder hurts my hand." Huo Chengming took her hand into his. Rubbing it gently, he said to her, "I'm sorry," a girl said in a high-pitched voice next to them. "Ooh, I want Huo Chengming to be my older brother too. Zhang Yuhuan, let me borrow your brother." Zhang Yuhuan turned and looked at her. "Keep dreaming." Zhang Yuhuan pulled her hand free and asked, "You going to practice some more?" Huo Chengming nodded. Zhang Yuhuan jumped off the platform and said to one of the boys, "Yang Sen, how about you?" Yang Sen was the one who was mocked by Zhang Yuhuan earlier that he couldn't even afford to buy his own race car models. He immediately jumped up from where he was and, rubbing his fist with his palm, said, "Yes, I will do it." He climbed onto the platform as he talked. Zhang Yuhuan sat on a chair on one side with her bottle of water. Yang Sen, on the other hand, let out a loud cry like he was in a martial art movie before he charged at Huo Chengming. Huo Chengming immediately changed into a different person. Strike, leg sweep. Every move of his was crisp. Thud was the sound of Huo Chengming's fist hitting the sandbag stacked on one side after he had struck Yang Sen, but before he could pull his arm back. The dust that rose up from his punch gave young Master Nan the creeps. He was even better now than when he had beat him up. What about next time? Last time, his bruises lasted over half a month. Next time, he'd need to be hospitalized. Suddenly, young Master Nan's knees buckled. On the other side, Yang Sen had thrown in his towel. Aya, stop, stop, stop. Zhang Yuhuan, stop your brother, quickly." Yang Sen rolled off the platform after he finished saying that. "I think I am going to go back to fencing now," said Yang Sen. Young Master Nan's legs buckled some more, and the chill on the back to his back also intensified. "Are you done yet?" asked Zhang Yuhuan from under the platform. Huo Chengming immediately turned and looked over to one side. Young Master Nan ran off immediately. The receptionist was baffled. "Hi, would you like to fill out an application?" "No application," said young Master Nan as he left quickly. He should probably go back to school. Yeah, he should be able to go back to school some more for love. Didn't he say that he'd wait 6-7 years for Zhang Yuhuan? Then he should wait. What's another 6-7 years anyway? Did I see young Master Nan earlier?" asked Huo Chengming with a frown as he walked up next to Zhang Yuhuan. "Oh, really?" asked Zhang Yuhuan as she looked around. "He ran off," said Huo Chengming. Zhang Yuhuan smiled. "Good for him. Otherwise, we will have to beat him up all over again." She genuinely disliked that person. If that young Master Nan dare show up in front of her again and hang around next to her, she had no problem beating him up every time. Huo Chengming tightened his fist a little, but didn't show any signs of it. He asked Zhang Yuhuan, "Are you hungry?" "A little bit." "Then let's go get dinner." "Li Jinyuan is still in class," said Zhang Yuhuan after she looked at the time. "We will bring him some takeout." Zhang Yuhuan didn't want to starve herself either, so she nodded. "Okay, then let's go." Huo Chengming said, "All right, let's go change out of these uniforms first." Zhang Yuhuan nodded, turned around, and walked toward the changing room. Huo Chengming, on the other hand, walked over the second-generation rich kids and said to them in a low voice, "Huan and I are going to go pick up Li Jinyuan." "Okie dokie, you guys go," said the group of second-generation rich kids. Huo Chengming went to change after that. When Zhang Yuhuan came out after she had changed, Huo Chengming was already waiting by the door. He even had Zhang Yuhuan's backpack in his hand. Zhang Yuhuan walked up to him and asked, "Aren't they coming with?" Huo Chengming lied straight to her face. "I guess they wanted to get some more practice in." Zhang Yuhuan nodded and didn't say anything else. The two ended up going to dinner together. Finally, they ended up picking a French restaurant. Of course, they wouldn't be able to pick up any to-go orders for Li Jinyuan. After they had finished dinner, Zhang Yuhuan had to go to a different restaurant and picked up to-go for Li Jinyuan. The tutoring center that Li Jinyuan was at was not too far from where they were. The two walked over there and waited for him downstairs. About 10 or so minutes, they spotted Li Jinyuan and a girl around the same age as him following behind him. The girl shouted behind him as she was trying to shove some food into his hands. "Wait for me, Li Jinyuan. I want to talk to you." Zhang Yuhuan was a bit surprised by what she saw. She didn't realize kids her age already had romantic thoughts. Zhang Yuhuan flashed back to her previous life. From junior high school through college, she had never been in a romantic relationship before. She was never interested in someone that way even, Huo Chengming said. "Well, it seems he's busy. Maybe we should just take off first. Let's wait for a bit. It shouldn't take too long." Zhang Yuhuan looked over at Li Jinyuan's direction. Just at the same time, he was looking over in her direction. He picked up his pace as he walked toward her. Towards the end, he ran the remainder of the way until he was standing in front of Zhang Yuhuan. "Here," said Zhang Yuhuan as she handed over the food to him. Li Jinyuan took the food from her and grabbed it tightly in his hands. With a shy look, he said to her, "Thank you, Huan." Zhang Yuhuan turned and started walking out. As she was walking, she couldn't help but grumble. "Why are both of you referring to me like that now? Is something wrong with that?" asked Li Jinyuan as he followed and completely forgot about the girl behind him. "Well, no, nothing is wrong." Zhang Yuhuan sighed. It's just that she had wanted to be the older sister. The three of them slowly walked and waited in the street for the chauffeur to come pick them up. As soon as they got home, the first thing Zhang Yuhuan did was to send Li Jinyuan upstairs to eat his dinner and Huo Chengming to do his homework. Shu Yushan sat on the couch looking tired. As it wasn't going to go anywhere with young Master Nan, she immediately asked Zhang Qi to set her up with other wealthy young men. Even though there were a lot of wealthy young men out there weren't any that wanted to have a relationship with her. Those who were older than her were already done with their crazy days and were just looking for someone of their same caliber, or one from an even more prominent family to marry. As for the ones younger than her, sure, a few wouldn't mind being in bed with her, but almost none of them saw her as marriage material. Shu Yushan had a bad day today. After her meeting today, the man straight up left a message on her Weibo saying, "You are cut from the same cloth as your mother. We can have fun together, but to get married? You must be kidding." Zhu Yushan used to think that Ding Ruxui, Zhang Qi's first wife, was from a prominent family, but it was her mother, Shu Yunhui, who had the last laugh. That went to show that even though Ding Ruxu was born into a prominent family and was pretty, neither one of those things did her any good. Back then, Shu Yushan was content, even proud. It was only now when she finally realized that her status didn't bring her glory, but a smudge that would follow her for life. When she saw Zhang Yuhuan and Huo Chengming returning home, she couldn't maintain her smile anymore. Zhang Yuhuan casted her a glance, reached for her phone, and dialed Lang Jinji right in front of Shu Yushan. Lang Jinji just came out of a meeting when Secretary Chung handed him his cell phone and mouthed the words, "Miss Zhang." Lang Jinji paused for a second. It had been a while since he had heard from Zhang Yuhuan. Lang Jinji couldn't help but frown slightly. Oddly, he didn't have much feeling when Zhang Yuhuan was wrecking havocs left and right. Now that she was behaving herself and he stopped hearing news about her, he felt odd, especially when he was signing documents with the pen that she gave him. He felt almost a little bit of emptiness. Lang Jinji gripped the cell phone tightly. Did she need a doctor? Appointment again? "Cousin?" said Zhang Yuhuan as she sat down with her back to the couch. Her voice had a hint of crispness that could only belong to a young girl. Shu Yushan, sitting across from her, almost immediately sat up straight and stared intently at the cell phone in Zhang Yuhuan's hand as if she really wanted to trade places with her and be the one on the phone with Lang Jinji. The other end, Lang Jinji replied, "Yeah, what is it?" Zhang Yuhuan was already used to his very businesslike, "Don't bother me unless you have something to say" tone, so she just went on, Shu Yushan. As soon as she heard her own name, Shu Yushan was about to blow up. What was Zhang Yuhuan thinking? Did she want to tattle to Lang Jinji? Are you a child? Tattling at your age? Then, through gritted teeth, Shu Yushan thought to herself, at Zhang Yuhuan's age, she was still a child. Zhang Yuhuan slowly looked over Shu Yushan, and just when she was about to say something else, Lang Jinji had already beat her to the punch. Was it Shu Yunhui and her daughter bullying you again? Zhang Yuhuan swallowed what she was about to say and responded with a It was just a with no undertone, but it was done in a young girl's voice, and it was low and weak through the phone, so it really sounded like she was wronged and emotional. Lang Jinzi immediately said to her, I will send Secretary Chung right away. Then, immediately after that, he changed his mind. Forget it. I'll make a trip myself. Better if Zhongqi is home. Zhang Yuhuan stood up and said slowly, No, that won't be necessary, cousin. On the other end, Shu Yushan was tensed. She was somewhat interested in Lang Jinji and wanted to see him, but she didn't want to see him under this situation. Zhang Yuhuan, said Shu Yushan in a weak voice. Zhang Yuhuan just walked past her and headed up the stairs. She had to do that. She didn't want Shu Yushan to keep thinking that she could do anything she wanted to her whenever Zhongqi wasn't around. But the real reason that Zhang Yuhuan called Lang Jinji wasn't to threaten Shu Yushan, that was just icing on the cake. Zhang Yuhuan walked up to the third floor. Leaning over the banister, she said to Lang Jinji in a low voice, Really, cousin, there's no need to come over. Even if you stop Shu Yunhui and her daughter from doing anything today, that's just a temporary fix. People are willing to give up their lives in front of a large sum of money. As long as I am still around, I will be like a fishbone stuck in Shu Yunhui and her daughter's throats. Lang Jinji didn't think he would hear these words from her. And she was right. Even if he went over to back up her, that wasn't a long-term solution. And with his status, he wouldn't be able to really make Shu Yunhui and Shu Yushan stop with what they were doing. He didn't represent the Dings, he represented the Langs. So your thought was, I am going to have to rely on myself sooner or later. I want to set a landmine for Zhongqi before I can be independent. Lang Jinji wasn't surprised at all that Zhang Yuhuan referred to Zhongqi by his name. What do you have in mind? He figured that if there were holes in her plan, he could help her patch them. Zhongqi enjoys having control over others' fate, but he never thought about whether Shu Yunhui and her daughter wanted to be controlled by him as pawns that could be tossed away any given moment. Back then, Shu Yunhui was the third person in my parents' marriage, so she didn't have a lot to lose and always served Zhongqi wholeheartedly. But things have changed. She has a different title now, and she already had doubts in her mind. As long as she felt that her and her daughter would be abandoned by Zhongqi at any given them, then she'd take actions, said Zhang Yuhuan in a soft and slow tone. Anyone who didn't know better would think she was just whining to the person on the other side of the conversation. Zhang Yuhuan paused for a bit and went on. Shu Yunhui had put up with Zhongqi for 20 years and finally became his legally wedded wife. She doesn't say it, but she was proud of her achievement. If she suddenly realized that what she had been working on for 20 years could just disappear like that, she would go crazy. She would look for an alternative and go after Zhongqi's pocketbook. Lang Jinji listened to her long speech and showed no signs of being impatient. After this very moment, he was finally certain that his cousin had changed greatly. From her personality to her ability to plot, everything about her had changed. And the best part of it all was that she was still able to maintain such a clear mind amidst all this and not let hatred and revenge cloud her eyes. She still remembered that she needed to plan for a better future for herself. Lang Jinji carried on nonchalantly. She would first want to make Zhongqi give her son the legal rights. Once the opportunity arose, they can do away with Zhongqi. By then, her son would be the Zhang's legal heir. Zhang Yuhuan laughed. Her girly laugh reached the other end of the phone and got to Lang Jinji's ear. It tugged on his heartstring and softened him up. Zheng Yuhuan, yes, and I will be out of the country just to leave them ample amount of time to carry out what they have in mind. They would want to have everything taken care of when I was out of the country. But they won't know when I will return. Lang Jinji held the cell phone tighter, walked into his office, and sat down. Do you really think they will have the courage to do that? 20 years she had been waiting for this. Now that she was finally Mrs. Zhang, her tolerance would continue to decline. In order to get her repayment for the past 20 years, she will become bolder and bolder. As long as Xu Yunhui bring it up, Xu Yushan would for certain buy into it as well, said Xu Yunhui. For greed, Xu Yunhui was willing to be someone's lover and didn't even let go when he got married. She gave birth to 2 kids out of wedlock, and still she wouldn't let it go. His wife died from anger because of her. She was yelled at, beaten, still she wouldn't let it go. Therefore, because of greed, they would never let go of the Zhang's empire. Understand what you are trying to say now, said Lang Jinji. Then do I need to tell cousin specifically how to proceed? Asked Zheng Yuhuan. Lang Jinji paused for a second. If it was the past, perhaps he would. But now. Lang Jinji looked down at the fountain pen on his desk. He said in a low voice, No need. There are men who can take care of it. Zheng Yuhuan immediately switched away from her sophisticated self and resumed her normal light-hearted tone and asked, How much would that cost? You can keep your money, said Lang Jinji. Zheng Yuhuan stuck her tongue out. Then how can I repay you, cousin? Lang Jinji paused for a second. He rarely ever received gifts and definitely did not have any experiences asking for gifts. He thought about it for a while and finally said, My fountain pen is out of ink. Okay, I will go buy some for cousin tomorrow after school, said Zheng Yuhuan in an even more cheerful voice. Zheng Yuhuan asked in a low voice, When are you free, cousin? Huh? I want to go have dinner with Grandpa at Yuelan Mansion. And I want to take Huo Chengming and Li Jinyuan with me. They should go meet their grandfather, too. Zheng Yuhuan wanted to strengthen the 2 boys' sense of home. She wanted them to know that they were truly, truly tied together and would never be apart. That was why she needed to introduce them to her family. Lang Jinji paused on his end, probably looking at his calendar. Does next Sunday work? Yes, that works.